If you've ever watched a cowboy work cattle, then you know their whip can often be their very best friend. Here at Sunbelt 2015, 4 young men from Florida got to show off their whip cracking skills, and needless to say, they made a lasting impression. Some call it whip cracking. Others call it popping. The 3 WALDMAN brothers from Central Florida, Ryan, Grayson, and Josiah, joined their friend and fellow popper, CATO, at this year's Sunbelt Expo.
In Florida, the cattle industry, the cowboys down there are all called crackers, and the reason why is the pop of the whip. And we all grew up around agriculture in Florida, around cattle, and we all learned how to pop a whip at a young age in order to work cows, or having something to do with moving cows around or whatever. So what we do now is not necessarily cracker. What we do is more of an Australian style whip popping, but the reason why we do it is because it's flashy and it looks good, you know, and it attracts crowds, and then we can talk to them and educate them about Florida cracker history.
Ag America Lending sponsored their daily performances. Ryan Wallman told me that he first started whip cracking at age 4.
5 years ago, me and my brother Grayson raised turkeys, and we sold them to customers, and we bought our first whip. And from there we started doing competition, and we also needed them for cattle to move them and stuff like that, so we used them. And then we started seeing people, you know, do competition and stuff like that, and we're like, well, we should do this. So we started doing it, and we just did the Australian style whip cracking, you know, which is more fancy and tricks and stuff like that, and attracts a lot of crowds. And it is a lot of fun to do, and it takes a lot of practice, but it's definitely rewarding, and we enjoyed doing it.
The Wallman family has been connected to the tradition of whip cracking for at least one generation, and since the 18th century, cowboys in the Sunshine State have used cow whips to move cattle.
Right. Well, today you're going to see an Australian style whip cracking, which is very flashy, and again, that's purely entertainment. However, back home on the ranch or any ranch in Florida, the whip is purely a tool, is all it's used for. It's generally used off a horseback, 10 to 14 feet long generally. And it's used to push the cows. The noise, that sonic boom that the whip makes when it pops, that noise agitates the cows, and it makes them use that whip to point the cows where you want them to go.
Grayson Wallman said it was a lot of hard work and lots of hours of practice to be able to compete in local and regional fairs around the Southeast.
Me and my brother, my older brother, we go together. We do it simultaneously. We pop together, and I have a few parts for today. I pop like 3 different times. We take turns so that way we're not wore out, because it gets tiring. So we have to take turns so that way we're not too wore out.
The 3 Wallman brothers, along with their friendly competitor Cameron, were a hit at this year's Sunbelt.